what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And today I just want to talk about a game that I really like. And I kind of bring it. I did a couple of years ago. I did do some live streams of the game. Of course, they kind of had some issues with my computer at that time, and it kind of connection issues. And it's just kind of harder to configure it. So maybe in the future I'll get back to it. But a lot of people have asked me, because I play a lot of video games that are based on, stuff that I see on TV, Dragon Ball Z, wrestling games, football, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Everyone talks like that. Is that all you play? Like when it comes to video games, you don't play any original games that didn't come from television or whatever, that you didn't discover from television or whatever. And I tell them not really that many, but one of the fewest ones that I say always is one of the games that I really liked and enjoyed as a kid, and enjoyed in general, still to this day enjoy it, is Lords of Magic. It is one of the fewest games that I enjoy that, was its own thing, basically. It was basically its own thing as a game. And so, to give in contents to this, when I was, again, I'm pretty old now, 32 years old, but millennials probably remember this game because it was released in 1996. The special edition version was released a year later, 97. But this game, to me, was the best PC game ever. And I still would argue that there is no PC game even today that is better than Lords of Magic. It's simple, it's cool, you can play it for hours and have a fun time battling other lords and stuff like that. It's a great game. So to this day, from time to time, I play this game. Now, Lords of Magic had a cult following back in the 90s when it was first released. There, huge fan base for it at the time. It kind of died out around 2004-ish, when, kind of more other RPG games, kind of became kind of the norm. But I would argue that Lords of Magic was one of the first for people that like RPG games. This was probably this was probably during the time when there weren't really that many of those going around at the time. So from time to time, I still play this game. As a matter of fact, if you have never played Lords of Magic, I highly recommend playing it. Like I said, it is an old game, so it will seem very dated if you were not born in the 90s or even the early 2000s. It will seem very dated layout. But it's a very good game. So again, there are two versions of Lords of Magic. There was the original version, Lords of Magic, and then there was the Lords of Magic Special Edition, which that came out a year later, which basically was essentially the same game but updated, but it also included another game, which was called The Legends of Urak, which basically had special, storylines specifically set that way. So Lords of Magic, the original game, you can basically choose from multiple different Lord nations. Warrior, thief, or mage. You can pick from those three things, and then you'll get a prompt that says, "The circle of life has no beginning or end. Choose your fate and write your own destiny." I always loved that voiceover, by the way. I have no idea who the guy was that did the voiceover for Lords of Magic. If anybody knows who that guy was, but that guy was fucking amazing, by the way. Like, whoever that was that did that shit. Like, the intro, man, I still... Yurak spent 1,000 years growing forgetful of the dark days that land once knew. He was saying to the enemy, so Golgoth, the terrible god of death, berated the era of terror and blood. He summoned Belkoff, the most evil man, and that intro was fire, man. That intro, man. You gotta see it. Now, there actually is a Steam version. I think Lords of Magic on Steam is like about $2.99. I also do have the Steam version. I have the original CDs too, but it's getting kind of harder to install them, especially in the newer computers, especially because you need like special patches and stuff like that. And of course, obviously, disk drives are becoming obsolete on computers. Most computers don't even have them anymore, especially the laptops. You'd have to get like USB attachment disk drives to do it now with the CDs. So I do recommend the Steam version this day and age, unless you do somehow want to play online, which, yes, for anybody who is about to drop their mouth from this, yes, there is an online version to play it. There is a multi-version version to it. The problem is, since the game's support had ended, which, by the way, the game's support, I'm actually surprised by this. Lords of Magic's support actually ended like in 2008. Which actually surprised me because I didn't even know their support ended in 2008. I thought their support ended much, much sooner than that. But their support actually officially ended in 2008, which is pretty surprising considering the fact that the game came out in 96 and then 97 for the special edition version. I was actually surprised to hear that the game had, the game support had gone on for that long. But it did. And I'm sure, again, that's a testament of how popular the game was. People were still playing it. And I still see some people from time to time talk about it. I see from time to time people put up videos on Lords of Magic. It's not as prevalent as it was back in the day. But I am still happy that there is still community for Lords of Magic, even though it's pretty small these days. It was a popular game at the time. It died out with the passing of time and technology and more games coming out after that, with the new graphics and stuff like that. But I always loved this game. Like I said, and also again getting back to the Legends of Yurak. I actually recently found out about this because I knew one of the Legends of Yurak game, which, again, for the Legends of Yurak, it was basically a set lord with a set name and a set storyline, basically, where Lords of Magic, you could basically, name yourself the lord, in Lords of Magic, where in Legends of Yurak, you couldn't do that. In Legends of Yurak, it was a set storyline. So one of the ones that was most notable was King Arthur. They actually did a King Arthur storyline. Which obviously everyone knows the Legends of King Arthur. But I actually recently found out that like most of all those storylines were actually based on myth folklore. I think there were only a couple that were actually like original like Lords of Magic storylines that were just created for the game. But there were other ones that were a lot of them were based on actual myths, just like King Arthur, the King Arthur one, which I thought was kind of pretty cool. Because I didn't know that. I only knew the King Arthur one was like based on the legends, legendal myths and stuff like that. Real life legends, myths and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool to find that out. But yeah, those one-liners, like when you go into the shops, like to buy new soldiers and stuff like that, those phrases, countless have died to become one of our order, and countless will continue to try. Only the finest warriors and martial combat resides here, stuff like that, man, it was so cool. But yeah, they did have a multiplayer thing though. the multiplayer mode was basically like if you had like back in the day, like in the 90s, they obviously had dial up and stuff like that, AOL. And we're talking about the stone age of the internet, because when I was a kid, when this game came out, like I said, like I discovered this game through a demo, because they used to have like demos, like they would used to offer demos for other games, so you could be interested in the game. So they would give you a demo, and we got a demo because, again, this was like when I was 8 or 7 years old. And I remember the demo. I remember the demo version, because the demo version you play as the Life Warrior, the Lord Life Warrior, and then the Lord of Air would come in, because the Air Nation and the Life Nation basically, they trust one another, so they would kind of interact with this way in the demo, because demo was slightly different than the way the official game looked like. But I immediately loved the game right then and there. I was always asking my mom, hey, can we get the actual game? Can we get the actual game? And we finally got the actual game. And I loved this game. This game was amazing. Still to this day, I love this game. And I kind of wish more people, especially in this day and age, because it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of lost its popularity as time went on. Lords of Magic was kind of the case of, newer games came out that were similar to it, that had better graphics and newer technology. Obviously, the advance of the internet became prevalent, so it became dated in that way as well. Because obviously, again, we're talking about a dial-up internet connection to play online. So if you wanted to play online against somebody, you would have to have a dial-up connection with like cords and stuff like that. Like, we're talking cords and shit like that, because there was no wireless back then. So they didn't have that. So, like, the setup is completely dated when you look at it. And, the one thing that kind of sucks, because when the Steam version of Lords of Magic was implemented into Steam, they didn't really do anything. They just kind of just put it on there. And, obviously with the support gone, they didn't really change anything. That's one thing I wish they would have implemented tasks on Steam. I don't know if they would have been able to do that, because, again, this is a 90s game, but I wish they could have somehow been able to do that with the old game. Maybe the masters are gone, because I know Sarah's, the people that, published the game or made it or whatever, they went out of business years ago, and I know Lords of Magic went into like a legal, they went into some type of legal thing, in terms of who owned the game or whatever, for a long time, before it went to a different company, and they're the ones that, licensed it out to Steam. But I wish really Steam could have done more with it, like with the, whether it be an updated patch. Again, maybe they just don't have the masters to the games anymore, because of the switch of the ownerships and stuff like that. But it would have been really cool if they could have implemented like an updated patch to it or something, for some of the older fans that love the game. It would have been pretty cool if they could have done that. And as well as the online thing, because I really think, like, if the game, because, again, I've talked to some people, like online, some of the people through the Steam community for Lords of Magic, and I've talked to some people, I think, on the Steam community in Lords of Magic, and because that's really where I only can find people talking about it consistently, and from the consensus is, there is a certain way to do it online, but it's very, very difficult. Like, I tried, like, someone explained it to me and how it works, and I just couldn't get it to work. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, some people say, oh yeah, it worked, but I've never gotten it to work. And again, maybe you have to use the CD version for it, because maybe the Steam version just has it enabled for you not being able to do it, even though you can like click on the multiplayer mode. Um, I don't know. But I really wish this game would have got some type of updated patch or something. Not saying the new game, though. I wish they would make a new Lords of Magic game. Like, people have been clamoring for a Lords of Magic 2 for like years. I never understood why they never made a Lords of Magic 2, especially with the popularity of the game when it was released. They could have easily made a new game, especially since, again, Lords of Magic, the online support was still going on until 2008. So from 1996 to 2008, that's like over 10 years, they were still supporting the game. So obviously, if you're supporting the game that long, that means the game was doing very well. So if they were supporting the game that long, that means the game was pretty popular still. Um, so I'm really surprised they never did try to capitalize on making a newer Lords of Magic game that, could have been more updated with the graphics, for the time of 2008, which that's when we were starting to get PlayStation 2 graphics at that point. Maybe the 3 was out by that point, but still, that makes it even more advanced at that point. So, I'm pretty surprised that they didn't try to do more after that. But again, for anybody who never got to play Lords of Magic, I highly recommend it. If you don't want to get the CD, because I'm sure you can get the CD pretty cheap on eBay or any website that sells old PC games. If you don't want to do that, you can, especially since obviously laptops, pretty much most laptops and computers don't have disk drives anymore. And you have to have the disc in to play the game, because that's how old games worked. You had to have the disc in. If you don't want to do that, just buy the Steam version. And the Steam version, I think, is about $2.99 or something like that, or it might even be $1.99, because you might be able to get a deal on it. But it's a pretty cheap game. They're not charging that much for it. So I highly recommend the game. There's a lot of things you can do with the game. There's a lot of cool different ways you can go about it. You can even customize the storyline if you want. To play as the Lord of Death, by the way, you have to win the game first. You have to actually not win the game necessarily. You have to just kill Belkov. He is the villain for the Death Lord, which, by the way, I should also mention, if you do play as the Death Lord after you kill Belkov, because that is the objective of the game of Lords of Magic, is to kill the villain, which is the Death Lord, who is Belkov. If you do kill Belkov in one of the games, and then you unlock the ability to play as the Death Lord, if you do play as the Death Lord, no matter if you're a warrior, mage, or a thief, you will automatically be Belkov. That is the one exception for the Circle of Life, is that if you are the Death Lord, you automatically are Belkov. So even though the appearance of the Death Lord looks like a warrior, thief, and a mage, that's not what the Death Lord will look like. He will look like Belkov, which Belkov has, he's the guy on the big bat thing. That will automatically, they list Belkov as a mage. They list Belkov as a mage, but he's not a mage. Like, well, he's kind of a mage, but he kind of isn't. He's like a special like type of dude. But yeah, that's what they list Belkov as. They do list him under as a mage, but he's not really a mage. He's like mage and a warrior combined. Yeah. That's the thing. Now, the only way you can play as the Death Lords, like as in not being Belkoff, is you have to do like a custom game, because there is a mode for custom games. There's also map editor as well, where you can actually make your own map of where all the lords are placed too as well. That's another thing you can do with the game, rather than just the standard one. Yeah, so there's a lot of good things you can do with the game. Like, I mean, like I said, I mean, this game was an RPG game, fun game, creative game, all in one. Before even RPGs were popular, and that's why I still think it does have a following. I mean, it's not as big as it used to be, but it's still there. I still see people talk, like in the Steam community for Lords of Magic. There are still people that talk, and there is still interest in the game, despite the game being like 20 years old now, or over 20 years old. I mean, we're talking 96. I think, again, 96, I was like freaking 6 or 7, I think. Right? I mean, that was when Brett Favre and my Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl. You know, so, I mean, pretty young, pretty old now, of a game. But like I said, if you never played the game, it's only about $2 on the Steam version. And like I said, you don't even really need that much to play the game. All you need is a mouse and controller, or not a controller, I'm sorry. You don't need a controller. You just need the mouse and the keyboard, and that's it. That's all you need. Also, you can name your character, like in the Lords of Magic game, not the Legends of Urak, but you can name your characters. Yeah, there's so much great things you can do with Lords of Magic. Highly recommend it. Again, I just kind of want to put a video out there talking about the game, because I really enjoyed the game, and I don't hear enough people talking about it anymore, and it's kind of sad. I'd really like to see a more surgence of Lords of Magic again. From time to time, I will play this game. I would play this game for hours when I was a kid. Like, this game was this was such a great game. Yeah, so, like I said, highly recommend it. I hope more people see this and we'll play the game. And also, if there are people that know how to do the online patch, someone out here that is a Lords of Magic fan, that knows about the online patch, that, because I've been told that there's an online patch, but every time I try to use it, it doesn't really work that well, and doesn't connect. So I don't know if there really is a thing for an online patch to play multiplayers anymore. But if I can find out, that'd be kind of cool. That's about it. Comment, rate, if you like this video, or if you like this video, my videos, please subscribe. Hit the notification for all the latest content. Thank you, and I'm out. I'm the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace. Yeah. Peace. All right. I'm out. Peace.